The official podcast partner for the 19th annual Oscar qualifying HollyShorts Film Festival. It's always a
you
tongue
did
twister.
it.
So I'm like, let's challenge each other to get it without even looking at it. I'm your host, Indiana. This is Haley. We are joined here today with every night at 3:30, Natalie De Diego, correct?
Yes.
Executive producer, director, writer, and editor, and Robyn Rebecca Hicks, our producer. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
No, this is our pleasure. I'm very excited that we got to meet in the hallway while we were waiting for a fireside chat to wrap up and already get to know each other a little bit. So before we dive into these short interviews, can you tell me a little bit about what the film is about?
Basically, the logline is a young woman is trying to get her medical results, and as time is passing, she starts to become paranoid about something that she's seeing in her at-home security camera system.
Wow. Okay.
Does what she's feeling paranoid about have anything to do with the medical result she's waiting on?
Maybe.
Oh,
Fantastic. So the first thing I want to ask about then is, how did you guys meet? How did you come together for this project?
We met in college.
Yes.
Many years ago. You were actually an acting student.
Yeah, I was a theater student at the time. Yes, and I would act in your films.
Yes, she was my muse.
Yeah.
And then we just stayed in touch. We were good friends. We were roommates. And then basically she's a professor at UNG, University of Georgia. And we were already working on another project, and then I realized, like, oh, why don't we work on this one together as well? Because I needed a producer, and I'd never really done a proper short before. This is my first time directing.
Fantastic.
And
Wow, congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So I reached out to her.
Wow. And
Perfect.
with the idea of paranoia, how did you want to capture paranoia? What was the visual language around that?
I think it was... I have my own security camera system at home, and when it dings and it pulls it up, it's kind of scary because you're like, what am I going to see when I press play? And it's usually just like a cat.
Yes.
But the footage I thought was so scary because there's like a kind of crunchy sound to it. It's also at nighttime, it has that night vision look, so there's just something really creepy about it. And the idea of this thing pinging on your phone, I thought, like, already me alone at my house getting freaked out by this, I thought it would tie into kind of like the paranoia she was feeling, and like this idea of the unknown and not being sure about what's out there.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, terrifying. I feel like, I don't know if it's because in the media we have seen security footage camera used in like for scary stuff, or if it's because it actually is just super creepy. I don't want security cameras because I don't want to look at that. It's terrifying.
Yeah.
So how did you cast? What was your process there?
Can you talk about that?
Yeah, well, so I'm the producer. I'm also a writer and director myself, as well as a professor at the University of North Georgia. We're right outside of Atlanta. And so when Natalie decided to come to us, I knew that I had a really great opportunity to pair the Atlanta local creative scene that we have there with my students. And so I reached out first, you specifically wanted someone who was Latina.
Yes.
So I reached out to friends and actors in the community and really just started putting out calls, and then we found Viviana, who was perfect, and you and her, it was really important that I get you together, because I knew Viviana too. I had always wanted to work with her, and something felt special about getting the two of you together. And she read the script, she wanted to be a part of it. We had a lovely lunch, and you two just connected, and it was just really like, wow, my work is done, and I can step back and let this beautiful creative collaboration happen.
So it sounds like, staffing up for this was pretty seamless across the board. Is that correct? Because you already knew each other, and then you found Viviana, and it was just kind of an easy situation. Is that how you found it? Finding your heads of department for everything?
DP, DP was a little challenging.
Yeah.
We went through a few options for that, and just reaching out, and I know I would kind of like send some reels over to you, and you would connect with some, and then it just worked out with Tom, who we got for our cinematographer. That was the most challenging, I would say.
That and the makeup artist.
Oh yes,
It
which
was
we
days before, and we were like, we can't find a makeup artist.
Oh no.
And we lucked out. One of her students actually did the makeup, and she did an amazing job.
Yes.
Lexi.
Because it's tricky because the duration of the film takes place over so many days, and so within that time period, we needed to show the transformation that the character goes through from beginning to end. And we thought like, oh, we need to get a professional, and we were looking at budgets as well. And then one of my students came through, and it was great. Like, and now she's doing makeup like professionally.
Wonderful.
Working on sets.
Wow.
Okay.
So first time director, what is I have two questions about this. What was the thing you did not want to sacrifice? Short filmmaking is like all about, what do I want to prioritize? What am I willing to let go of? Hopefully, the least amount of those things happen. But what were the biggest things when, dealing with a script that you're like, I'm not sacrificing this, whether it be visuals, locations, the way the character looks, the way this comes off, things like that?
Yeah, I would say just the visual language that I was trying to do. I didn't want to sacrifice that. And it was great when I found Tom, because he was on board, and he was the one who was like, let's use a Pee-wee dolly. This sounds like this is what you want. And then thankfully it worked out that we were able to shoot it exactly as I hoped, because I wasn't sure, because at first I thought I need a steady cam, and that's a whole thing.
Of course, yeah.
We were tight on budget. So that was the biggest thing, just like not losing the visual language that I really wanted to do.
And then also, when you call cut, what's the first thing you're doing?
When I call cut, I am I think I'm usually thinking about what I just saw in terms of, was the performance right, especially because this film takes place over a couple days. With every take, I was in my head, and I had written down like notes in my script of like kind of where she was mentally. I was trying to keep track of that, because sometimes we weren't able to shoot in order.
Of course, yeah.
So there was a lot of like, okay, did I feel like what I just saw was honest? And then check with Tom, our DP, and be like, do you feel like, it was in focus and it was lit
Technically
correctly?
we're good.
Yeah, exactly. So that's the first thing.
You mentioned that you had a very interesting shot. The DP who you did finally find was able to come up with a creative way to keep a cell phone in focus as it was moving, what talent was moving. Can you explain what that was?
Yeah. So basically, there's a moment where she's holding the phone, and we're looking at the phone from like over her shoulder as she's like walking, which sounds like a very simple shot, but it's actually really hard to do, to keep the phone in focus and follow. And I didn't want handheld. Like, I wanted all the shots to be very smooth.
Precision of it all.
Yeah. So he was like, what if, he's like, we have a Pee-wee dolly. He's like, we sat her on the Pee-wee dolly and then had her hold up her phone, and then the camera was behind her as she was sitting on the dolly, and then he just pushed the dolly forward to like recreate her walking motion.
Fantastic.
And it worked.
Yeah, I bet. I absolutely, as a cinematographer, I absolutely love the technical solutions that happen on set to tell the story. And at Cinematography for Actors, we're all about bridging the gap between talent and crew. And so how, for that shot, did you communicate to the actor whatever day it was? Because did you do this over the idea of the multiple days that you would keep going back to that shot, and it would just, change based off of the story?
So that shot was basically on the last day.
Okay.
And I had brought it up to him already, because I had given him a shot list, and he read the script and everything. So he already was telling me, he's like, I think we're going to do it this way. And I was nervous because I didn't know if it would look too smooth and wouldn't look like her walking. But then he did it, and he just we did like a rehearsal, and he showed it to me, and I was like, oh, this is great.
And what did you communicate to talent in order to technically get them on the same page as like what you were trying to achieve for that shot?
Viviana was so easy, because she has been on so many sets. She's also done some producing herself, so
great.
she understands filmmaking, so she's very good at like, okay, I know what you need from me.
Nice.
And it was, I told, and I always explained exactly what was happening in every shot. Okay, you're gonna be sitting on this dolly, and it's funny because even when she's like sitting on the dolly, I could tell like she's still performing, even though it's just her hands.
That's so great.
But that's just her. She's so dedicated.
Yeah. Wow. And Robyn, what do you hope the biggest takeaways are for the audience?
Oh, wow. I mean, just to feel you know, the connection with the character, I think, because we've all been in that moment of paranoia or anxiety, and I think that, I just want the audience, and they definitely did last night. I felt like that was the energy that we got from talking to people afterward, because it is we do leave the ending is open, kind of for interpretation, which I always really love, and so it was great to get the audience thinking about that, and also feeling, that feeling that we've all felt in some way or another.
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
And I know that I can catch it on BitPix because you screened yesterday at midnight. You were in the late block of all of the
the midnight madness.
Yeah, moviegoers. And so you can check out every night at 3:30 on the virtual fest that is a part of the HollyShorts Film Festival. On BitPix.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for being here.
joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Of
We'll
course.
see you all
See you
again
later.
soon. Bye.
Bye. This has been another episode of the Cinematography for Actors podcast. Follow us on wherever you listen to your podcast to keep up to date on new episode releases. We will be live through August 20th here at HollyShorts Film Fest. If you're here, drop in and say a little hello at the VIP lounge. We also want to thank our sponsors, Apogee, Film Tools, Roscoe, Lightstone Rentals, Canon, and First Mile Tech. As a special gift to you listeners, we partnered with We Make Movies to get you a discount on comprehensive production insurance packages. Use code CFA23 on your intake form for 10% off your quote by visiting wemakemovies.org/insurance.
If you missed any of our live streams, you can watch all of our interviews on our YouTube channel, Cinematography for Actors. And make sure you follow us on Instagram at Cinematography for Actors. You can also catch us in a more formal setting on Monday, August 14th at Japan House for a panel discussion on the importance of bridging the gap between talent and crew. You can get 20% off of your ticket purchase by using the code HSFF2023CFA at checkout.
Thanks!